Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from September 13th, 2024, and I'm recording this on March 13th, 2025. As always, I give you those dates so you know when this information is most relevant because the market is always moving and changing, as we'll see as we look at what's happened to these books. Also, as always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. I know I say this stuff every week, but I want to make sure you guys, if there's any new people that come in and watch these, I want to make sure they understand what we're doing. And really, this is about trying to understand what made these books hot, why were people buying them, why were they trending in the market, and what is going on with them now or has happened to them since. Would you have been better off being patient? Should you have bought in? And what factors affected that? What happened then versus now. So hopefully we'll all can learn something from this and make a little bit better decisions about which books we chase, which books we're patient on. All right, so we got 16 books to talk about this week. Most of them related to the Venom trailer and movie that we were getting ready to get. There was a trailer at this point, but knowing the Venom 3 movie was coming. But let's dig in and see if we can learn anything this week. First up, we had Amazing Spider-Man number 36, the 9/11 issue on the list for the second week in a row because it was early September. 9/11 was between last week and this week. Every year around this time, people buy this book. We talked about it last week. Every year, you're better off buying it, usually in the spring. Back then, raw copies were $60, 9.8, $150. Now it's a $20 to $90 book, so raw side maybe not that much different. 9.8, $110 to $130. It's not like a trap by buying it in September, but it definitely you can do a little better if you're just patient to buy it at a different time of year. Next, we have The Toxic Avenger, number 1. We were still, and I think maybe still are, waiting for a wider release of this movie. We got some news that maybe this was going to finally happen, but I don't know that it actually still has. This movie's been done for a while. It's been sitting there, but nobody's been willing to distribute it. Raw copies were $25, 9.8, $120 back then. Now it's a $10 to $25 book raw. 9.8 still right around $120. So this is a steady I'll be back. You can find a few bargains and deals, but I don't know if this movie's ever really going to see the light of day. If I've missed it, then boy, it flew under the radar that it came out. Next, we got Ice Cream Man, number 1, from 2018. This horror anthology series has been super popular. These books have been pretty valuable all along. It got optioned, or maybe the option rights changed. I forget exactly what the deal was here to this series. Raw copies back then were $100 to $200 for a raw copy, 9.8, $428. Now it's a $30 to $160 for a raw copy. And this is really weird. There's lots of sales like 30 to 60, and then several sales like 140 to 160, and not much in between. But and I couldn't really tell much difference in the books, but that's kind of where it was at. 9.8, only 300. So this is down in a trap. You can definitely do better on this book than you could back then. Next, we have another repeat from last week. We have Trinity Special, World's Finest, number 1, the Sowie 1 in 50. Back then it was $140 to $160 book. Like we talked about last week, only one recent sale at $130. So with Down and I'll Be Back. Not a lot of sales on this book. This book appears to have mostly kind of disappeared from the market. So we'll see. This may end up becoming some sort of ghost or something. But right now, still really valuable, even if it's slightly less than what it was back then. Next, we got Uncanny X-Men number 274, classic Jim Lee cover that was getting a facsimile, which is what caused it to hit the list. And it was getting a facsimile because we got this Savage Land Rogue series that's going on that's just started releasing. With that announcement, along with the facsimile, is what was kind of causing us to hit the list. $10 to $15 back then. Now it's a $5 to $20 book for raw copy, 9.8, 130. So we're going to call this steady and worth it, basically in the same range. Just a great Jim Lee cover, and obviously a key book related to this new and currently ongoing Savage Land Rogue series. Next, we have Uncanny X-Men number 1, the second print from 2024, the second print, 1 in 25. First appearance of several of the new characters that came out in this book. They're all on this cover, so this is the first time you get them on the cover. $110 to $130 back then. Raw copies $50 to $125 now. 9.8, $150. So Down and I'll Be Back, borderline trap, but there's still a lot of sales around that $100 mark. Not a lot of difference between most of the raw sales and the 9.8. But yeah, a lot of interest in these characters. We'll see if this book really has any legs going forward. Next, we have Forever People, #1. This is a Pure Comic Buzz book. This is the first appearance of Darkseid, and basically he was going to be the main villain of the next DC comic crossover event, which I feel like he's the main villain of almost every DC comic crossover event. But anyway, $50 to $200 back then. 9.2, $250. Now it's a $50 to $120 book. 9.2, $190 to $290. So a steady I'll Be Back. You can get some bargains. No reason to necessarily chase it for that reason. Still a great book and one of the all-time most important kind of DC villains. All right. Next, we got one kind of Marvel book, and this was Amazing Spider-Man #50, first appearance of Kingpin. Obviously, this is a big book, an important book. It was hitting the list back then because rumors that Kingpin was going to be the main bad guy in the next Spider-Man movie. But as we know, he's in the new Daredevil show right now as one of the main bad guys. Averages back then $200 to $1,800, 6.0, $1,000. 9.0 just under 5,000. Now raw copies $250 to $1,800, so very similar range on those. 6.0 $1,200, so up slightly. 9.0 all the way up to $6,400, so that's a pretty decent jump for 9.0. So overall, this is up in straight cash at those higher end kind of copies. Just a great, all-time great book. This is a book that you're going to buy when you get the funds and get the right copy, and not necessarily because it's on the market or whatever. So, all right, next we have Amazing Spider-Man #316, the first full cover appearance of Venom. This is hitting the list because we did get the Venom 3 trailer. Raw copies back then, $125, 9.8, $470 to $600. Now raw copy $40 to $200, a wide range depending on condition of this classic cover. 9.8, $350 to $500, so definitely a down, and I'll be back on the 9.8 side. And just kind of overall, as we've moved away from the Venom movie, and probably the last Venom movie, at least for a while. Next, we have Venom vs. Carnage #2, first appearance of Toxin, a character that's supposed to be in Venom 3. I didn't see Venom 3, so I don't know if this happened or not. But back then, it was a $45 to $80 book, 9.8, $157. Now it's a $10 to $35 book, so definitely a trap on the raw side. 9.8 for $150, but that's just one sale, so hard to justify saying it's steady at that $150 on one sale, when the raw copies have clearly taken a pretty dramatic step back from back in the fall. Next, we have Venom War #1, first appearance of Venom Horse. Basically, this is the first time Venom bonded with a horse. And yeah, we got that in the trailer, at least. I don't know how much important that was in the movie. Raw copy $6 back then, so it really it was just a bunch of sales, but it really wasn't doing anything to the value. Raw copies now $4 to $8, steady, and I'll be back. No reason to have bought back then, but yeah, I guess if you're into every kind of Venom key, it's a book that might be worth having. But yeah, no reason to chase it for any kind of value. Just look for it in back issue bins. Next, we have Guardians of the Galaxy #23, first appearance of Klytar, the symbiote planet. So we knew we were going to get some flash from the planet in this movie. So that's causing this book to hit $15 to $30, 9.8 going for $100. No recent 9.8 sales. Now it's a $5 to $18 book. So down in a trap. No reason to have chased this particular book back then. All right, next, we still got 4 more Venom 3 related books, 3 of which are sort of the same book. But first up, we got Thor, God of Thunder, #6, the first cameo appearance of Knull, which is, of course, the Necro Sword being related to, that comes there. So we get a cameo of Knull way back then in Thor, God of Thunder, #6. Raw copies 20 to 60, 9.8, 160. Now raw copies 15 to 45. So very slight step back there. Very, very slight. 9.8, 125 to 250. So we're going to call it steady and worth it. 9.8s appear to have taken maybe a slight step forward. even if Ross took a slight step back. Obviously, this is also has to do with Gore the God Butcher. So this is a book that's a key for multiple reasons. So not just because of Knull, and it's managed to stay pretty steady. Next, we have, for the next 3 books, we're going to have Venom number 3 from 2018, the first appearance of Knull. We just got different covers. First up, we have the Jorge Molina 1 in 25. Back then, this cover was going for $220, 9.8 for $375. Now it's a $60 to $200 book raw, 9.8, $245 to $270. So Down in a Trap, still a very valuable book, still a book people are interested in, just nowhere near in the lead up to the movie, because Knull really didn't play that big a part in the movie, or really any part at all. Next, we have Venom number 3, the first appearance of Knull, the third print, first cover appearance of Knull, which has been a big book since it came out. Raw copies back then for $210, 9.8, $390. Now it's at $150 to $170, or $50 to $175 on the raw side. 9.8's down to $300, so another Down in a Trap. Again, because Knull didn't play a very big part in the movie. And then last, we have Venom number 3, the cover A, first appearance of Knull. Back then, raw copies $150, 9.8, $3 to $320. Now it's a $50 to $125, $125 to $225 on the 9.8. Yeah, Down in a Trap again. Just Knull has taken a step back. Still a very valuable character, a character with a lot of interest, just nowhere near what we thought we were going to get out of that Venom 3 movie. So that is this week's list. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time. Later.